Hey, hi, and hello. I'm Troy the Art Boy, and today I'm going to be designing yet another unconfirmed experiment from Lilo and Stitch, the series. Before I get into this, there is a list with each experiment's name and corresponding number that plays during the credits of Leroy and Stitch the movie. I've been pulling from that official list throughout this project, and I will continue to do so moving forward. From there, I usually brainstorm on the function and maybe on the design itself with a friend of mine over on Instagram. Their account's name is Lilo's Library. In case you guys wanted to go check them out, I highly recommend it. Without them, I'm not sure that this project would be possible. And just real quick, a quick rundown on how all of Jumbo's creations are organized for those of you who might not be aware. For those of you who've seen any past videos of mine, please just bear with me while I try to get through this. But numbers 000 through 099 are categorized as Jumbo's household helpers. Numbers 100 through 199 are the civic disturbances. 200 through 299 are categorized as technological and scientific. 300 through 399 are psychological. 400 through 499 are the militaristic experiments. 500 through 599 are the elemental manipulators. And lastly, experiments 600 onward, those would all be doomsday experiments, like Stitch. Given both the name and the number, I can get to work. Today, I will be designing experiment 008. This cousin's name is spelled Carmine. I believe it was meant to be said as Carmen, but there's actually already an experiment named Carmen. That would be number 123. I wanted to make a point of highlighting this because it directly influences their design. I read a fair amount, and sometimes I struggle to process what should be really simple words. In this case, every time I read 008's name, I just want to say Carmine instead of Carmen. I talked over with Lilo's Library, who, again, I just cannot say enough great things about. Without them, this whole project just wouldn't be possible. Anyways, I explained my struggles with reading the name, and we decided to make that the actual pronunciation, and I think it's great. Now we don't have two Carmens, and even better, like I said earlier, it gave me an idea for the design. Carmine, a literal car thief. The Zero series, experiments 000 through 099, like I said at the top of the video, are the household helpers, so I racked my brain to come up with a way for a car stealer to be of service to Jumba in that way. I decided on a chauffeur, or rather, I guess, I decided that she was intended to be a chauffeur, but our friend here has a bad habit of forever borrowing motor vehicles. After landing on that, I knew I wanted to put her inside of a little uniform. Yay! I didn't know if I wanted actual clothing or just the appearance of clothes. Experiments like Heckler, French Fry, and Manners all have color patches to give the illusion of clothing. The last of which was a massive inspiration here. Carmine and Manners would share very similar color schemes. I decided on that much immediately. The contrast of the black and the yellow and the white is just too good, I couldn't resist. Generally speaking, Lilo and Stitch experiments are bright little fuzzballs, so there aren't many black, brown, or gray ones. So, at least for me, whenever one does come along, they always stand out of the bunch, 008 included. I always recommend drawing with a reference photo. Even if you're pretty sure you know what something looks like and you don't think you need one, it really doesn't hurt. A few years ago, I went to art school for a semester until I got poor and they made me leave. But one of my professors would always say that you should be looking at your references more than the actual drawing itself. She really drilled into me that our memories can be faulty, and by nature of being humans, we make mistakes. Granted, I was studying portrait drawing and still lifes, but I think the rule still applies here pretty nicely. At least until you really master drawing the subject matter. Sometimes I spend hours compiling scrapbooks worth of images just to use exactly 0 of them, but more often than not, they really help to elevate the piece. Here, I had pictures of personal driver uniforms, doorman uniforms, and screen grabs from Lilo and Stitch episodes where manners was included. While you're working on illustrating a realistic portrait, obviously the point of using visual guides is to transcribe exactly what you're looking at. You try to capture depth, shadows, reflections of light, everything. It helps to have a sharp and large image to go off of. However, and this is really fun, as an artist, sometimes you're not asked to give an exact copy of something, but rather you're commissioned for something more gestural. Put simply, you need to capture the vibe of what you're looking at without drawing exactly what you're looking at. When it comes to Lilo and Stitch experiments, it's important to get an entire idea across by using as minimal lines and different colors as possible. There are a handful of cousins with complicated designs, and there are others made up of a great many colors, but those are the exception rather than the rule itself. I try sticking to roughly 3 or 4 colors per design, not including the inside of the mouth. Otherwise, I run the risk of my sketches looking too much like fan art, which, I mean, I love fan art. I am literally doing fan art right now, but it's important to me that my designs look as much like actual experiments as possible, and I hope that I'm successful in doing that here. I didn't give her a hat, but I mimicked the shape of a chauffeur's hat by just elongating the height of the head and rounding it out a bit on the top, like a small cloud. And I was afraid that a physical skirt would be too bulky, so I opted instead to just kind of hint to one by adding a hanging flap of skin that sort of hangs down to the knees. I actually got the idea from someone named Artist Issues over on DeviantArt. They also do Lilo and Stitch drawings. The design I pulled from was their interpretation for the experiment known as Lotus Wife. The tie was easy. Much like with Heckler, I just made her tie a lighter fur patch, in this case being yellow. And although I agreed with that choice, it wasn't quite enough yellow for my liking, so I added a pair of yellow elbow pads, eye circles, and a headband that wrapped around her hat. This is my 5th experiment in the series, and it's already my 3rd female one. But unlike the first 2, 003, How Come, and 005 trucks, 008 wasn't designed to be a female counterpart to another pre-existing male experiment so much as she just so happened to be based off of a similar color palette as one. I don't think there's anything wrong with making up a new experiment to be a partner with an old one, but I don't want to rely on that either. It feels too gimmicky. It just so happens that quite a few of my Zero Series experiments sort of became that later on. I'm sure I'm not alone here, but whenever I draw anything, including fan art, I visualize how my characters would realistically act, interact with canon, walk, and even talk. And those particular characters that I'm talking about just so happen to be in love with these other experiments. Come to think of it, I actually play with that concept a little bit for experiment 011, which is the next one on the docket, so be on the lookout for that one as well. Anyways, here she is, experiment 008, Carmine. It's a small thing, but I am obsessed with her blue eyes. I really think they pop. Like I said earlier, Jumbo would have created experiment 008 to be his private chauffeur. She can operate all-terrain automobiles and aircrafts. However, she is completely unable to operate any sort of watercraft. The episode that she debuts in would be She Drives Me Crazy. The episode would have Lilo and Nani on the outs following a disagreement about buggy privileges. A Grand Theft Auto spree sparks town-wide panic as a newly activated cousin joyrides around the island. Carmine would finally find her one true place with a local cabbie company. Here's a character sheet I came up with for Carmine. I have these for all of my designs, and I usually post them to my Instagram if you wanted to go check them out. Let me know what you guys think. Oh, and just one last thing. The person who's been working with me on this project had previously worked with another artist many years ago to do virtually the same thing, but unfortunately, they never finished. If you've spent any time looking up unconfirmed Lilo and Stitch experiments online, I'm sure you've seen their work. Their name's Sketch Lampoon, and I'm bringing them up because I've been playing a fun game where I look up an earlier popular fan design after I finished my own. It amazes me how two people can have very different interpretations for the exact same prompt. And the Lilo and Stitch fan art community is just really small, and I really want to spread the love and be sure to shout out their work whenever I get the chance. So please be sure to go check them out too if you guys are feeling up to it. Here it is. I love it. She reminds me of Experiment 054 named Fudgy, who is an incredibly underrated cousin, by the way. I read this version of 08 covers everything in caramel. I'm not sure if that was the artist's original intention or not, but I think it makes sense. She looks so innocent and pure. I love it. 12 out of 10. If you like this video, or honestly, even if you didn't, be sure to like and subscribe. I'm still very new to this whole YouTube thing. I've just started a Patreon. If you wanted to support me over there as well, I would greatly appreciate it. I have other videos already up, and you'll have early access to some of my other designs too, as well as discounts on my stickers and whatnot over on my Etsy. I know I've already mentioned them a few times in this video, but if you have a minute, I really cannot recommend enough checking out Lilo's library over on Instagram. A bunch of my other designs are already up there, and just so much more. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and you will see me in the next one. Bye.